Miscellaneous matters. Number 1. Change in coins. As youngsters, there was a certain joy in running errands for the household. Not only did buying knickknacks from the local grocery make children feel growing up and important, but such shopping trips also usually ended with the grocer returning some loose change. This princely sum, say 2, 3, or 5 rupees, was usually given to the young shoppers as a reward. Some put it in the earthen piggy banks, others bought kites or candy with it. Unfortunately, the ubiquitousness of smartphones and UPI transactions has rendered loose change, and with it such little joys almost obsolete. UBI, QUI, TOUS. Ubiquitous means present everywhere. Number 2. Mysore. Do you miss Mysore? Is a question every Mysorean who steps outside the municipal limits is bound to be asked someday. The appropriate response for such situations is firm but polite no. Sure, there are lot to pine for: the palaces, the parks, the playgrounds, the climate, the smell of good coffee, the sound of SD motorcycles, the lovely sight of heels on wheels, and the sunlight. Boy, can the sunlight of your hometown match the sunlight of anybody else hometown? And yes, there are the fruits and vegetables, the avocados and the avocaya, that is mango pickle, you can't find anywhere else. But how can you miss a city that never lets go of you? It is probably in the imaginary homelands that Salman Rushdie described the surreal feeling of finding his family's telephone number in the Bombay directory decades after they had left the city. Mysore is a bit like that. You may leave the city, but it will never leave you. It keeps popping back subtly and startlingly. Open a restaurant menu card in Melbourne or Malvinagar and you'll find a Mysore masala dosa or a Mysore coffee staring at you. Go to a temple in Mylapore or Matunga and you'll find yourself swimming in a sea of Mysore silks and Mysore jasmines. Why? There are at least 9,753 Mysore cafes and Mysore stores around the country. Can any city in the whole world boasts of letting a million flowers bloom in its name like Mysore? Avocado, AVAOCADO, avocado means a tropical fruit. Number 3. Pigeons. Perhaps Sir Charles James Napier should remain standing at London's touristy spot of Trafalgar Square immortalized as he remains under everlasting droppings of pigeons. London Mayor's plans to remove his statue along with that of Sir Henry Havelock from Trafalgar would cheat the British of a half chance to know what stuff some of their heroes were made of. It was to honor their conquest in India in the British Raj era that the 4.5-meter tall statues came to stand on the plinth at Trafalgar Square. Napier was honored for his conquest of Sindh. He went ahead to bully the emirs of Sindh into a confrontation and then led a conquest which he described as very advantageous. The conquest over, he sent a one word pun in Latin to his headquarters saying he had sinned. There is more, the man said back in the last century. Fools, we have the physical force, not they. They talk of their hundreds of thousands of men. When I am dancing around them with cavalry and pelting them with cannon shot, my 100 rockets roaring, scorching, tearing, smashing, all they come near, what would their 1 lakh men do? Poor men, poor men. How little they know of physical force. This is a phase of the Englishman that must be commemorated by monument, recognized by locals, seen by visitors, and anointed by pigeons. And the other general, Sir Henry Havelock, he did more than his bit by suppressing the 1857 uprising. Sir Havelock failed to save Kanpur and failed thrice to take Lucknow. He succeeded the fourth time and brutally. It is these stoned gentlemen the Mayor of London wants to move to a site by the river, though some would insist it be into the river. Of course, the old military battalions want to keep the generals where they are. But this is not really a debate between colonialists and modernizers or about Britain. This is a debate between ignorance and general knowledge. The London mayor wants them moved because he says, I have not a clue who two of the generals there are. The generals surfaced in what was a debate on pigeons within the Greater London Assembly. It is the pigeons the mayor wanted out of Trafalgar Square, really, on ground of health. Amid protests by animal lovers, he said, you get the impression from some of the protests that we could keep these pigeons alive until they qualified for an old age pension. And talking of people, he said, I think that the people on the plinth in the main square of our capital should be identifiable to the generality of the population. I have not a clue who two of the generals there are or what they did. One member of the assembly apparently did know something. One was very good in the Afghan war, he said. It is another matter still that the Afghan wars did not go very well for the British. Mayor picked on this nearest shot to knowledge about the two statues. I imagine that not one person in 10,000 going through Trafalgar Square knows any details about the lives of those two generals. It might be that it is time to look at moving them and having figures on the plinths that ordinary people from around the world would know, such as, "Who do you move in?" people may ask. One of the four plinths at the square has been vacant, and it has been impossible for 150 years now to agree on who should be put there. One local group has suggested Gandhi. That would be a departure from the military rulers who established the Raj Gandhi fought to break. The last word in the debate, and with it the last laugh, went to the mayor. Clear the pigeons and put up a statue of the unknown pigeon. Anoint. Anoint. Anoint means smear with oil or water as part of religious ceremony. Anoint means sanctify. Thank you for listening.